Welcome back to the channel. Imagine a world where everything you know has suddenly become a little bigger. One day you wake up and every object, every person, every piece of nature has grown by 1 centimeter in every dimension. Your arms have become longer, the ceiling above your head has become higher, and the horizon outside your window has become wider. At first glance, this seems like a small thing, right? 1 centimeter is almost nothing, a barely noticeable difference that you can miss without paying attention. But what if this tiny change is not just a coincidence, but the key to understanding how our world works? What if that 1 centimeter can turn everything upside down, from the way we live to the way the planet itself functions? Think about it. Everything that seems stable is built on a delicate balance of size and proportion. And what would happen if this balance were shifted even by a centimeter? Would our home remain as cozy if the walls were wider? Will nature survive if the trees grow taller and the oceans deeper? And will even our technologies, which we consider so reliable, fail because of this subtle difference? This is not just a game of imagination. It is an immersion in reality where 1 centimeter can change everything. And we will find out exactly how. Stay with us because ahead is a detailed analysis of what would happen to our world if everything suddenly grew by 1 centimeter. We will consider how it would affect our daily lives, nature, cities, and even space. You will be surprised how deeply that 1 centimeter penetrates every aspect of our existence. So get ready. We are going on a journey where a small shift reveals big consequences. Now let's dive into the details. We will not consider hundreds of small things. Instead, we will focus on a few key aspects: the human body, homes, nature, and space. Each one reveals how a centimeter can make a difference more than we can imagine. The human body, a new scale of ourselves. Let's start with ourselves. You've grown 1 centimeter taller. Your arms have become 1 centimeter longer. Your legs have become wider, and your chest has become deeper. The change seems insignificant, but it affects everything. Your body volume has increased because it depends on the cube of linear dimensions. If you used to weigh, say, 70 kilograms, now you could weigh 71 or even 72 kilograms, depending on your build. Your bones have become 1 centimeter thicker, and your muscles have become more voluminous. This means that each step you take requires a little more energy than before. You may not notice it right away, but by the end of the day, you will feel a little tired. Your heart has become 1 centimeter larger in diameter. It pumps blood through vessels that have lengthened by 1 centimeter in each direction. Your blood volume has increased, and your heart has to work a little harder to maintain pressure. Your lungs have become 1 centimeter deeper, and each breath brings in more air. But are your breathing muscles ready for this? Your digestive organs, your stomach, your liver, your intestines have become 1 centimeter larger. You can eat a little more food, but it will take longer to digest because the food has to travel a greater distance. Even your brain has become 1 centimeter wider, and your skull has expanded to accommodate it. Would this affect your thinking? Doctors would say no, but who knows? We might think a little slower or, conversely, deeper. Clothes would become a problem. Your pants have become 1 centimeter longer, but your waistband has become wider and they slide around. Your shoes have become 1 centimeter longer, but your feet have grown in a different proportion, and you feel your toes dangling inside. Everything we wear would have to be altered as our body proportions have changed slightly. And that's just the beginning. Imagine how medicine would adapt to the new sizes of organs, bones, and blood vessels. Surgeons would have to create new tools, and pharmacists would have to recalculate drug doses as our bodies have become larger consumers. Homes, a space that's no longer our own. Let's move on to our homes. Imagine a typical apartment, say a two-room apartment in a panel house. Each wall has become 1 centimeter longer, the ceiling is higher, and the floor is wider. The area of the room has increased, but not in proportion to your comfort. Doors have become 1 centimeter taller and wider, and their hinges now feel more strained. Windows have expanded 1 centimeter in each direction, letting in more light, but the frames have become heavier and harder to open. The windowsill has risen by 1 centimeter, and your favorite potted flowers now stand a little higher than you're used to. What about high-rise buildings? Each floor has become 1 centimeter higher. In a 20-story building, this means that the total height has increased by 20 centimeters. The foundation feels more pressure because the weight of the building has increased. Elevators have become 1 centimeter wider and higher, but the cables that hold them up might not be able to withstand the additional load. Engineers would have to check every element of the structure, from beams to pipes. And old buildings, such as Khrushchev's, their walls could crack because they are not designed for such landslides. Our cities would become larger, but more fragile. Nature, balance on the edge. Now nature, imagine a forest, say in the Carpathians. Each tree has become 1 centimeter taller and wider, its trunk has increased in volume, and its weight has increased. The roots have become 1 centimeter longer and thicker, but will they have enough strength to hold the tree up during a storm? The crown expanded by 1 centimeter in each direction, and the shadow became thicker. This would affect the grass under the trees. It would lack light and could gradually disappear. The leaves became 1 centimeter larger, and photosynthesis would bring more oxygen. But would the branches withstand this weight? Rivers and lakes would change too. Imagine the Dnieper. Its width increased by 1 centimeter from each bank, and its depth by 1 centimeter. The volume of water increased, and the current could accelerate. The banks became 1 centimeter higher, but the soil would gradually begin to collapse under the pressure of the additional water. The fish in the river became 1 centimeter longer and wider. Their gills grew, and they would consume more oxygen. But would there be enough of it in the river? Predators like pike would become larger, and their prey would decrease in number. The ecosystem would begin to oscillate, searching for a new balance. The oceans would feel it even more. Sea levels would rise by 1 centimeter. That's billions of cubic meters of water pressing against the coast. Waves would become 1 centimeter higher, and beaches would gradually recede inland. Coral reefs would become 1 centimeter larger, but their structure could become more fragile due to the change in water pressure. The climate would change. Larger clouds that grew by 1 centimeter would carry more rain, and regions like the steppes of Ukraine could flood more often. Space, a shift on the scale of the universe. Finally, space. The Earth became 1 centimeter larger in diameter. Its mass increased, and gravity became stronger. Not by much, but enough to make us feel heavier. The orbit of the moon would shift. It could move farther away or closer by a fraction of a millimeter. Tides would become stronger, and coastlines would gradually shift. The sun would become 1 centimeter larger, and its energy could increase. The temperature on Earth would rise by a fraction of a degree, and glaciers would begin to melt faster. Or the Earth, having become larger, would reflect more light, and we would get a slight cooling. Stars would become 1 centimeter larger in diameter. Their brightness would increase, and astronomers would rewrite their maps. Black holes would become 1 centimeter wider at the event horizon, absorbing more matter. Galaxies would expand by millions of centimeters due to the accumulation of this 1 centimeter, and the balance of forces in the universe could change. Even the rockets we launch would become 1 centimeter larger, and their trajectory would deviate. Landing on Mars could become impossible without new calculations. So what did we learn? 1 centimeter is not just a number on a ruler. It is a force that permeates every aspect of our world. Our bodies would become larger and heavier. Our homes would become more spacious but less comfortable. Nature would become denser but more fragile. And the cosmos would become larger but more unpredictable. This 1 centimeter showed us how finely tuned our world is, from the smallest cells in our bodies to the stars in the sky. We saw that even the smallest change can set off a chain reaction that affects everything. This journey into a world where everything is 1 centimeter bigger reminds us how much we depend on size and proportion. We tend to think of our world as stable, but what if it had already changed and we just didn't notice? Perhaps this 1 centimeter is not just a thought experiment, but also an occasion to think about how we live and what we could lose if the balance is upset. Thank you for spending this half hour with us and immersing yourself in this unusual idea. If you enjoyed understanding how small changes affect large systems, be sure to watch our other videos. There we explore no less interesting what-ifs. Subscribe, leave comments, and share your thoughts. What would you change in the world with 1 centimeter? See you in the next video.